So it is an early Sunday morning in Andover High Street, and Kevin and I have come out here into the High Street because we've decided that we're gonna do something that we don't think anybody else has done, and that's we're going to count the number of visible businesses that you can see from the High Street, shop fronts, how many there are, and how many of those are open. Now, Kevin, you've lived here since 1901? 1984. So you know a little bit about this town. I've got a pretty good idea. I only moved here a few years ago, and I love this town, but there's been quite a lot of online chatter and conversation about, all the shops in Andover are closed. That's not the case, is it?
No, it's definitely not the case. The main shops that have actually closed in Andover have actually been mostly nationals that have been closing everywhere.
Yeah.
Marks and Spencer's had to pull out. There's been quite a few others that have all pulled out, but it's nothing to do with Andover itself.
No.
It is the finances of the company that have forced them to look at other options.
Yeah.
And it's something that's happening nationally, not just locally.
Yeah, okay, so let's see if that's true, actually. So we are going to literally count, what we're going to do incidentally is we're going to walk, so we started at our offices, which are number 55 High Street in Andover, right next door to Greg's, and we're going to walk up the upper High Street. So we're not going to do every shop, incidentally, we're not going to go everywhere, we're not going to go up to Newbury Street, but we're just going to walk up the upper High Street, back down, shall we do London Street?
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, which means we'll probably cop into Winchester Street as well, along Bridge Street, and then back up the other side. We're not going to go into the Chantry Centre. There's a lot of stuff happening. You were at a meeting this week, weren't you? About the Chantry Centre. There's lots going on.
Oh yes, there's definitely lots going on with the Chantry Centre.
So let's take a walk then. So we're going to count all of the shops, those that are open, and then note down all of those that are closed. Now there are quite a lot of national brands. Tony and Guy. Boots the Opticians, which is, as far as I know, is a local franchise, still going. This used to be Thomas Cook, is that right?
Yeah,
but it's been
correct.
bought by Hayes, who have, or has, as we'll discover in a minute, a shop further down the High Street. But there is a note on there. Let's have a quick look what it says. Okay, it says the nearest branch is further down the High Street. It's not open at the moment, but do remember this is a cold Sunday. So if anybody says none of the shops are open in Andover, that's because at the moment it's quite early on a Sunday morning. So VPZ is a vaping shop which opened
Earlier, late part of last year.
Yeah, so relatively new here, and actually they use a supplier which is based in Andover, based at the Walworth, that procure products from overseas and bring them in. So there's a local supply chain there. A national charity shop. One of the complaints, of course, is Andover's full of betting shops and charity shops. Well, this isn't quite right then, is it? Who's this?
This is William Hill, but the two shops here, BHF and William Hill, both used to belong to national companies that ended up going bankrupt a few years ago. One which was Tandy's, and the other one was Rumbelows, which my dad worked at.
We remember Rumbelows. Okay, so no William Hill, no betting shop there. This is a really impressive local cafe run by Errol and his team, the Blue Onion. But not forgetting there are two businesses here. Upstairs there is Andover's Music Shop. In fact, it's a really impressive music shop. The String Brokers, Kevin and Rob run that. Master Barbers, again, one of the moans and complaints that I read online quite a lot is that Andover is full of hairdressers. We need to be a little bit conscious, I think, that high streets across the country are moving away from retail and moving much more into leisure. And by leisure, I mean eateries like Wimpy, so run by local people here with a couple of premises in town. So eateries and bars and pubs, cafes, hairdressing salons and beauty salons are becoming increasingly the most important part of the high street and less so retail. We'll walk past the larger British Heart Foundation, which is I did say we're not going to go into the Chantry Centre, but these businesses are in the Chantry Centre. This is impressive. Andover Prom Dress, which kind of started as somebody who was really looking for a home in Andover and managed to find it in the Chantry Centre, I think after Test Valley Borough Council bought the remaining share of the centre. We can peek down. This slightly annoys me because the ITV report last week on the High Streets used this entrance to the Chantry Centre in their footage on a day when it was firstly, it was about 5 o'clock in the evening, and it was peeing down with rain outside, so it was never going to look particularly busy. And they used that in comparison to a stock image they have, I think, for a Saturday at the other entrance to the Chantry Centre. Now, Craft Spot is empty, so there's one.
Yeah, I think you actually, if I remember correctly, Crossbar actually moved from that location further down into the Chantry Centre. I'm not sure if they're still going yet, but last I knew, they'd actually moved further into the Chantry Centre. They downsized basically.
Okay.
I think they found they had too much space there and decided to
Okay.
move down.
Also, businesses that have a kind of onto the high street presence tend to have higher rents. Now, this used to be Butters, then Chalkies, closed down. It's on the market with Stratfords, who seem to have pretty much every commercial premise in town. Really impressive little cafe, this, I think.
Yeah, it was quite good. I mean, yeah, I could walk down here of an evening and you could definitely hear the live music events.
You could also wait quite a while for your breakfast, I remember, in there. Right, so this has been a couple of businesses over the last few years or so, but it's now a beauty and eyebrow salon. As we just come to the junction with Newbury Street, let's go to one of Andover's, if not Andover's definitely oldest business, which is the Angel pub. It suffered 2 fires since it was built in the 12th century, I think, and bits of the original building still remain. But the Angel, still open, just taken on a new landlord in there. Chris and Kaz, that ran it after 5 years, moved back to Swindon a while ago after an argument with a brewery. Nothing to do with local rents. Kamara's Cafe. So the gentleman who runs Kamara's Fish and Chip Shops next door, now taking ownership of the business next door as well. That's Armando from Portugal, by the way. He says he finds things very difficult, but still trading after many, many years in Andover. The Mumbai Brasserie used to be another restaurant, but again, still going. And I think they have Elvis nights. In fact, they do. There's a sign that says Mumbai Brasserie, Elvis night coming up. Well, it was coming up in December. Maybe they need to change their advertising.
Yeah, fabric shop.
How long ago?
Ooh, quite a few years ago now. Because my ex used to go there for her fabrics.
Happy memories. Okay, this is Just Bikes, which again have been in the high street for quite some time. And the gentleman who runs that, I know, often complains that it's very difficult to get people in to drop their bikes off because of the lack of parking around here. Quite a lot of that is going to change with the redevelopment of the Chantry Centre that we touched on earlier on. Studio R, and we're going to come to the end of the high street now. And this is Lee's place, the Golden Dragon Oriental Restaurant and Takeaway. So, have we counted one, possibly 2 empty shops?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not a huge number so far. Let's take a look back down there. So we are going to walk the entire length of the high street. Willows. It looks like it's closed. I think it's probably possibly just because the curtains are closed. In fact, it's usually open this time on a Sunday.
Yeah, it's open. Well, it doesn't open on a Sunday. It's Tuesday to Saturday now.
So Willow's very
But
much going.
it's actually owned and run by an old work colleague of mine.
Okay.
I worked with her when Robert Greggs was still in town, which is going back quite a few years now. And I bumped into her a couple of years ago and she said, yeah, she's taking this on and they're doing okay.
Yeah, a great little tea shop in Andover. We're not going to go to the church as far as we can tell. St Mary's Church is open, being Sunday morning as well. I suspect they're being quite busy today. Brilliant Chinese restaurant. Run by Jerry and his wife, Tycoon. The Light of Asia opened in Andover, or redeveloped itself a couple of years or so ago. It may well be closed right now because it is first thing on a Sunday morning, but still very much open. Annabelle's at Home. There used to be an At Last as well. I think it's all now in the downstairs. Upstairs, there's now a gentleman's clothiers, I suspect is how you can call it, called Dress to Kill. So 2 businesses there on the high street.
They took over from what was known as the old Priory at the time, where you could get all your baby stuff.
Recruitment company, the Travelling Cupcake, run by Greg and Bev. They've moved around in various different locations across the high street. They also have another pop-up shop inside the Chantry Centre at the moment as well. Another hairdressers, or unisex hairdressers, but I often thought it was a ladies, colours and cuts. This one, however, is hugely impressive. J4K, which stands for just for kids. And they are absolutely brilliant. They've done such a great job of decorating everything inside. When they first opened, I think they had a huge kind of influx of people. They kind of liked the idea that somewhere for their kids to go and get their hair cut. And it's brilliant to see them nice and busy on a Sunday morning. So Diamond Nails and Beauty, which used to be...
If I remember correctly, that used to actually be a games arcade.
Yeah, the amusement arcade in there, I think. So we're going to start moving into kind of a lot more national brands now, but there's lots of small independent businesses there. So Specsavers, Clark's, large national companies, Dev's Place, the double discount stores.
That's been there as long as I have.
Been around for quite a while. It's one of those places where if you need a thing, they've probably got it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Nice and colourful. In fact, they helped us kind of decorate some of the Love Andover offices.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, if you can't find it anywhere else in Andover, you'll probably find it in there.
Absolutely. So they've been going for quite some time. A brand new barber shop opened in town, Best One Barbers. We're not going to go up all of the old kind of coaching entrances, but there's CJ Flooring up Black Swan Yard. Do you want to take just a quick look there? International Furniture up there. They're named on the signage there. And of course Jim's barber shop as well, which is one of Andover's longest running businesses.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
He's been in business here for 43 years, I believe.
That's quite some commitment. Now here we go. So here's one which is, as I mentioned earlier, on the market with Stratford's. It's clearly had some work being done in it over the last few months.
Yeah. It used to be Stead and Simpson's shoe shop. Obviously, again, national company, ended up pulling out. It was boarded up for a very long time, but they've been working on it for the best part of 6 months or so now, and it's actually a nicer view now. It looked a bit tired and worn in the old one, but yeah, it's definitely getting ready to be offered and sold on to someone else to come in, hopefully another independent.
Absolutely. So work being done on it in order to get a tenant in there. Savers, another national company. I did say we're going to walk into the kind of the region where national brands are a lot more prevalent. Another charity shop, which is the Blue Cross, which raises money for pets. Pets, of course. Yes, absolutely. In fact, it's called Blue Cross for Pets. Right, okay, so here's one of Andover's kind of largest kind of contentions, and this is Marks and Spencer, which closed down in April 2018. It was, I think, kind of the town felt it as a bit of a shock, and understandably, it drew people into town.
Yes, Marks and Spencer's, again, national brand, well known, but it's along similar lines to like the CNAs and the BHSs. Everywhere feels it when a national pulls out, because it doesn't just pull out of one location, it pulls out of multiple locations all at once. But I mean, me personally, I rarely went in there, but then again, it wasn't my kind of shop. It's the advantage is that we can, where we've got these spaces, we can now offer them out to other people, and we've got to attract others in. It doesn't necessarily have to be a national brand. I've found that independent seems to do a lot better here than what national brands do, mainly because they can offer a personal service and expertise.
Yeah, I think part of the plans for the redevelopment of the Chancery Centre is to get more smaller units so that rents can be charged at a lower rate to encourage smaller independent businesses that don't need such huge floor spaces. I do remember when Marks and Spencer was here in Andover, it really was the food court which was the busy bit. There were very few people going in there and buying their knickers from M&S. Now, so here's a story. Dorothy Perkins have announced in the last week or so that they will be moving out of Andover, and that's going to be in March, I think. But this is part of the Arcadia Group.
Yeah. The Arcadia Group are actually closing stores nationwide again. I mean, this is just one of the stores they're going to be closing. I believe they're closing about 50 stores nationwide, include Andover, Winchester, and I think it's Salisbury as well. So that's 3 local stores that are going.
Yep.
Not just ours, 3 of them.
Yeah, there are lots of other locations, Wolverhampton, much larger towns and cities that are suffering it. So this is not an Andover-centric problem. This is a massive, massive company run by Philip Green, which has decided that it just can't run in its current form. So that's not an Andover problem. We've got Clinton Cards, Costa Coffee, which of which there are 2 in Andover. There's another one down by the bus station. Like I said, we're not going to see every single store in Andover because we're not going to spend all day walking around. H. Samuel closed at the moment, but open as far as I know.
Yeah, H. Samuel is still going.
Okay. This one, however, as we've just discussed, Top Shop and Top Man are part of Philip Green's Arcadia Group, and again, as Kevin's pointed out, they're going to be closing stores all over the UK, and this one is kind of earmarked for closure imminently here as well, but again, not necessarily an Andoverian problem, but a national one. We are not going to go up and see the guys at Page and Page. They are very much open. As you walk up towards Black Swan Yard, the Edinburgh Woolen Mill. Now we're going to walk down, as you see on camera right now, the left-hand side of the High Street. We will go into London Street and to Winchester Street. Andover Barbers invested in the town. They opened a couple of years ago, and again, we're not going to go up Union Street, but we take a quick look at the signage here. It's almost worth going up there to make one point, because there are lots of businesses based at Union House up there, which is office space, but there's also Barker, Son and Isherwood, which are immediately next door here. There's Keskin's and the Showboat, also the brilliant Chrissy and Dave at Tip Top Balloons and Thornton's. There's Gallagher's Florists up there. One business that isn't there anymore is the Andover Advertiser, because they're now in Basingstoke. So actually, of all the businesses that have moved out, it's your local newspaper, and I use the word local in the loosest possible sense. So a betting office, and then here's Barker, Son and Isherwood, the very front of their building, because it goes right back up to the middle side of Union Street. And like I said, national brands, HSBC, the bank, daughter Thomas, the spa. I mentioned earlier on that the move in High Street is really going towards leisure rather than retail, and as a perfect example, actually, daughter Thomas, open. Evans, no doubt. I'm pretty confident that Evans are part of Arcadia.
Yes, they are.
They are. So I suspect there's going to be a closing down sale. Oh, there is. It's already here. Here we go. Final clearance from Evans, which will also be leaving the High Street. So at some point, we're now going to have kind of 3 businesses in this part of the High Street, which will be gone, we imagine, this year. But all part of the same company, all part of Philip Green's Arcadia. So Lloyds Bank, and then by almost complete comparison, closed this time on a Sunday morning, but Stuart, who runs C&M DIY Centre, has been here for as long as I can remember.
As long as I can remember as well, I can assure you. But again, another local business with local expertise, excellent service, and they're like one to do what it says on the tin.
They do, absolutely. And actually, a fair play to Stuart. And there have been 2 occasions where I've gone in there and said, have you got the thing that looks a bit like this, that fits onto this thing, that's sort of white in colour? And he said, oh, I know exactly what you mean. And then went at the back and got it for me. So we're now back into another national brand, which is a bank, Nationwide Building Societies, and let's not be under any illusion that building societies and banks have had their troubles. We're not going to go all the way up George Yard, but we have got Phil Nightingale from the record box up there. Mailboxes, etc., was run by Nigel Terry. It's been taken over by somebody else recently, so they stopped it from closing in Andover by taking it over and committed their financial investment into the town. And Richie and the team, and Ronnie, the parrot, of course, from Burgo's Pet World. Do you remember Burgo's being on London Street?
Oh, hell yeah. That's where I got my first pet from.
There you go. Burgo's back in town, and Richie doing a brilliant trade there, because people want to talk to experts. It's not as if you can kind of just buy bits for your pet online and hope for the best. Richie absolutely knows his stuff.
Oh, definitely. I mean, every single one of the staff at Burgo's have had to undergo an animal management course. So they do know what they're talking about.
They do. A betting office. There we are. Everybody says Andover's full of betting offices. We've had a couple so far. Right, the John Russell Fox. Busy. It's clearly a national brand, but its pints are around £1 cheaper than any brewery-tied pub. So, if anything, going to Wetherspoons makes it difficult to keep the local pubs going.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, bearing in mind that John Russell Fox actually used to be the Andover Advertiser Home. It used to be called Holmes and Son, which was the printers and stationers. It was a shame when that closed down actually, because I used that myself for quite a lot of stationery equipment and supplies. But yeah, it's although the Nationals are good, um, when they are hitting local independence on costs, that does cause a struggle.
It does. The big national brands kind of have the buying power that smaller independents just don't. Okay, so Peacock's another national brand, kind of discount-ish clothing store. I'm sure their marketing team won't like me saying that. This newsagent has been here for quite some time. The gentleman who owned it passed away last year.
Yeah, the lady that used to work in there is now actually working in my local shop.
Right.
They've been around for years. I'm not entirely sure why they pulled out. If it was a gentleman passing away, then I can understand it. But yeah, I mean, my local shop needed a replacement sales assistant, and I went in there last week and I saw a lady from here in there.
Okay, so she's not lost her job. It's interesting to see that there's no for sale sign or to let sign outside Charlton Newsagent, which everybody will remember from town. Rachel Bell runs Andover Framing and Photo, opened in the High Street a handful of years ago, and clearly doing a great trade. Now this is one of Andover's oldest properties. Hundreds of years ago, interestingly, it was called the White Hart. It changed its name on a handful of occasions. You might remember it as the Danebury, now the Star and Garter, and also Pizza Express. Now let's be realistic. Pizza Express have recently said they're in some financial trouble as well.
Oh yes, yep.
So how long Pizza Express's little agreement with the team from City Lodge that owns Star and Garter continues, we're not entirely sure. So we did say that we would pop into London Street. So let's take a brisk walk up here. It's known as Estate Agents Alley. That's absolutely right. I didn't think we were going to walk this far, but we'll go up there just to see what's actually here, because let's make sure we include this as kind of part of your High Street walk. Brockenhurst Estate Agents, there is a bar. Oh, this is where Stratfords are based, so they should be rubbing their hands together at the moment. The Town Barber Shop, there is a nail shop here. Is it still open? It's not. Okay, so
No,
the
Fancy Nails have actually moved to Union Street.
Okay, so not closed down, but moved. Okay, the sandwich shop.
It used to be known as the Lunchbox. It's been taken over by someone else now, and it's called a Little Cottage, as you can see.
Okay, so but still going. Still going. Cool. Okay, let's just rather than going all the way up, actually, let's just stand back and take a look here. To me, it looks like everything's occupied up there.
Yeah, there is one vacant shop up there, which is the old Area 51, which used to be a nightclub. You've also got the old Herbie's Pizza, which used to be based up there.
Okay, so two closed properties up London Street.
Two closed properties up there.
Okay, the job centre is closed. That's moved to Beechhurst. The Foresters Arms, again, been here for forever, absolutely forever, along London Street. So without walking all the way up there, we'll count two empty properties up London Street. We will pop ahead into Winchester Street. Past an estate agent. A Winchester house here has a handful of businesses in it. It is Sunday and they're closed. I can't tell you how many of those businesses are open at the moment. It used to be the home of active staff upstairs, but let's walk along the High Street and just see what's here. There's the Bengal Takeaway, Chico, the world famous Chico Land. I was going to say Alpha cars, I better not. A and B cars, the Lemon Place. Now the Chili's still very much open. Used to be run by the brilliant Zach in there, but they still do some fantastic food. Blade's Barber still very much open. Style Nails, the Shahi Raj that's been going for quite some time as well. The brand new Andover Tap. So if you like a good ale, go and see Tim at the Andover Tap. He's a master brewer himself, so he knows his stuff. So nothing at eye level down here. Closed. Ranson Horton Solicitors, they've been operating in town for practically forever as well, which occupies downstairs and upstairs. Right, and we're now going to make our way down Bridge Street. If I sound out of breath, it's not just because it's desperately cold here, it's because I'm desperately unfit. This is Mooch. run by George and her team, always with incredible shop front displays, and won the Christmas window display competition set up by the Andover Business Improvement District last year. The Red Bridge, again a national pub brand, has the ability, because of its buying power, to buy in its beers at a much lower rate than the smaller local pubs. A-Plan Insurance seems to be doing okay. Everybody needs insurance, don't they? NatWest Bank. Right, let's have a brisker walk down the high street here. So the cash converter style place, UCash, that's still going, isn't it?
Yep, that's still going, definitely.
Kind of remember that opening about 5 years or so ago. Sort of modern version of pawnbrokers. Right, so here is a closed unit. I think somebody attempted to kind of... What was this before? It was the wine shop. Can you remember?
Offhand, I can't. I think it might have been a newsagent's, but I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I remember the floor space in there. I remember not being particularly big, but Wine Me Up opened one day, and I think it closed in a relatively short space of time
Yeah,
afterwards.
it didn't last long here.
Okay, so this is the Dragon Garden restaurant, which has got quite sizable floor space in there.
It is really big in there, and they used to do fantastic meals. I only went in there a couple of times, but the quality of food was great. I'm not sure why they ended up pulling out, but it was a pity to lose them.
I had heard last year that there was a Japanese restaurant brand which was interested in taking the location, but there doesn't appear to be too much going on. The Andover Vision, which is the plan for Andover over the next handful of decades or so, of trying to lighten up the fact that that shop front is closed by putting logos and pictures on it. So this was P Squire, wasn't it?
Yes. This used to be the Squire's haberdashery. I mean, it was a shame when the gentleman pulled out, because you could anything you couldn't find electronics-wise elsewhere, you could almost guarantee they'd have it. I mean, I used to come in there for my CB stuff, and now bearing in mind how old CB radio is.
Very 70s of you.
Yes.
So not the gentleman's name was Alec Holloway, who was here, and he started working in that store in 1947. So it's not really the case that he pulled out. It's probably about time that he retired, he could relax. But if you needed anything, he knew about it.
Oh, definitely. One of his staff, Ronnie, that used to work for him, I got on with her very well, and because she had. She'd worked previously for the old Andover electronics place, I think, which is where Blaze Barbers is now. And literally, if you needed advice on how to get something repaired, she could give it.
But obviously, the shop for P Squires was not closed or empty for too long before Hollywood Nails took over. Domino's Pizza. Famous suppliers to pizza at the Love Andover offices every now and then. Recruitment agency GI Group. I don't know too much about what goes on above shop. And this next building is fascinating. I wonder how many people have ever kind of paid attention to the fact that this used to be part of the old Andover jail. As it says here, the old town jail, as it was in 1623. Not a jail anymore. Wouldn't be big enough. The bridge bookshop, and there's a cafe in here as well, or part of the Valley Church, in the building that I think used to be the old council offices.
Yes, it did.
Many years ago. So let's walk over Bridge Street. They've built the bridge here some years ago. It used to be a ford, so you used to actually have to walk through the water to get from one end of the Andover town centre to another. So we're in big national brand territory now. Iceland seems to be doing relatively well for a Sunday morning. Let's have a brisk walk further down. Now I keep wanting to call it Nando's, and I suspect they're quite happy for me to say that. So Frango Grill is a locally run chicken restaurant, from what I understand. Kit Malthouse's favourite place to go, but that opened a few years ago and seems to be doing quite well.
Yeah, but again, this is a case of a national brand being replaced by an independent, because that premises actually used to be Blockbusters. many years ago.
So again, kind of proving that the marketplace changes, and businesses like Blockbuster that had the opportunity of buying Netflix for about $1 some years ago turned it down and thought there's no future in this online streaming video thing. Kind of got it wrong. Not an Andover problem. It's a global marketplace issue. So let's walk past Anton House to Seamaster. Friday afternoons, always really busy in there. Great fish and chips from those guys. The Kathmandu Variety Foods. Again, this must have opened 5 or 6 years ago and has a fantastic array of different foodstuffs. Sal runs the charcoal grill here. You're basically queuing on a Friday evening when you're there as well. There's Armando. Hi, Armando. This property's it's been empty for quite some time. It's part of the Langdown properties. It used to be Cherished China in there some years ago. I think it's been empty for quite a while now, so I don't really know what the plan, if any.
It has been empty for quite a while, but I mean, there's been multiple different shops in there. I mean, years ago it used to be another pet store, and that's before my time. So.
That is some time ago. Okay, so let's walk past Sainsbury's. Let's cross Bridge Street. Let's have a look at what we've got. So we've got, I think that's Ken that runs Shoe Care. Just teasing. In the middle and upstairs, there's Oak Tree, brilliant set of local accountants and bookkeepers, and the Salvation Army shop. Now, SP Bar is absolutely brand new. Only opened in, I think, November sort of time last year, and a lot of investment has gone into the SP Bar, kind of cocktail bar. Really busy on a kind of Friday and Saturday night. This is going to be a source of contention for most people because since the post office here closed, businesses along High Street have said they have noticeably seen footfall here drop. So the Royal Mail is still here, but the post office, not closed in town, it's now inside WH Smith, which we'll see in a moment, but that old post office now empty. And again, I don't really know what the plan is for it, but not having people going to the post office where they can queue for 45 minutes to get a letter posted, having an effect on some of the other businesses around Bridge Street. So let's cross over and remind ourselves about the Wilco building. Upstairs there's Valley Leisure, local charity. They do some brilliant stuff, including they run the ICANN Therapy Centre at the Salto Centre, and in it the Riverside Bowl. It used to be called
Breakers.
Breakers, and it had something else before that, wasn't it?
No, before Breakers came along, I mean, bearing in mind the whole building used to belong to the Co-op anyway. I mean, again, that was a national brand that got replaced by Robert Greggs, which was a local independent retailer for a short time, or part of the Nicer Group. But yeah, it's been Breakers for a long time. It did actually switch names for a short time. I can't recall what to at the moment.
But now Riverside Bowl, still very open, very active, lots of things for kind of young people to do, and also they do have events for older people as well. So downstairs then there's Wilkinson's, and I love the fact that kind of everybody basically called it Wilco, so Wilkinson's just changed its name to Wilco, in the same way that I think people should, Tesco should change their name to Tesco's, because everybody calls it Tesco's, not Tesco anyway. So we're not going to go down past towards the Pocket Park. Again, there's a lot of redevelopment that's planned down here as well, but the town mills still going strong, as you can see down there, and our friends the ducks and pigeons also seem to be quite happy, even though that water must be freezing this morning. So this is the Methodist Church, yes. And the home of the Andover Street pastors, and then we're going to start walking kind of back up towards the High Street. And we're sort of back into local business land as well. Now, Belvoir, the estate and letting agents are here, run by Greg, doing exceptionally well. You see their red Belvoir boards everywhere. Talbot Walker, I think probably one of the oldest solicitors in town, and Simon Walker, with the family name still there. They were set up in 1726, I think, something like that. So they've been in town for quite a long time. Captain's Meze Bar, run by the same guys that have the franchise for Wimpy further up the High Street. Right, okay, one national brand, Co-op, the Funeral Care, and the White Hart, with its ghost, part of the Marston's brewery. There's no denying that it's a difficult time for pubs, but they do have the national buying power, but still very much going. Brilliant little charity shop, Naomi House, raising money for Naomi House and Luke's Place, of course. Now here's one that's been closed for a little while. It's on the market with Belvoir that we mentioned earlier on, so using local agents in order to sell it. I think this has been a pie shop for quite some time. There was some talk about it reopening as a pie shop last year. I clearly didn't quite get there, but I do notice that the signage has changed slightly. I wonder whether there's been some interest.
What's basically happened, because I mean, if you go back years ago, it used to be Ward's Pie Shop, which Ward's actually had a factory out on the Walworth estate. My sister worked there as supervisor. They were well known in town. Wards were well known. They also had vans going around doing all the industrial estates for hot food and all the rest of it. And basically the pie shop bought them out. But obviously they didn't quite manage to survive as well as what Wards did, because Wards was around for years.
Everybody was still calling it Wards right up until this closed.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And they actually had a planning application in there a few weeks ago to actually change the purpose of the building. So that is why I think the difference in the signage.
Okay. So we watch with interest. So an empty set of premises there. We watch with interest what happens there. Halco and Sons, part of Dignity, the funeral directors. Brilliant local business. I keep referring to this as Andover's busiest shop. Not on a Sunday. It's not open on a Sunday, but Leslie Ann and Mark and their two girls run Photos to Print. If you need a gift, that's the place to go.
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, heck yeah.
Passport photos and all that sort of thing in there. Again, we're not going to go through this part of Waterloo Court, but there is the Lone Fairy Jewellery, Janet Mary are up there, the florists, by the way, so we're not going to go around the back end, and Tamer Chulo, the brilliant Nepalese restaurant, is there as well. Now, this is brand new. It's moved from inside we didn't go through the Bridge Street Mall, but maybe this is the reason why. Never really a particularly huge amount of footfall there, and the grilled cheese cafe used to be there, and this has only just recently opened here at Bridge Street.
Yeah, it's literally only opened, I think, within the last few weeks. And I mean, from what I've heard and seen the reports of it, it is a really brilliant place to go. I mean, everyone recommends it, and
yep. I had a listener could have texted into my programme last week who said, "Oh look, here's Carl. Let's have a quick look. Point this in this man's direction. Hello. We're doing a walk around Andover's High Street.
Oh, excellent.
And trying to point out the shops that are open against those that are closed. Let's come in. Come in. We're going to do this.
At 11.
So you've been open here for 2 weeks now?
28th of December.
Okay. And I was just saying that I had a listener text into the programme earlier this week who said, "I'm going for grilled cheese. It's brilliant in there." Now listen, how difficult is it getting business premises in Andover?
Finding the right one is not massively easy. I mean, it took 3 months for them to find what they wanted, but very pleased with what we've got.
It looks fantastic in here. So there's quite a lot of investment that's gone in saying, we want to be in Andover, we believe in Andover.
Yes, yeah. I mean the two owners, I only work here. The two owners, Anna and Aga, invested a reasonable amount of money in getting the place ready. And managed to do it in just 10 days, so it's quite a record, really. I think they wanted to do it quicker, but 10 days we managed to build a kitchen, decorate, build the service counter, and do some remedial works upstairs.
So, as the past mayor of Test Valley, do you think Andover's dead?
No. I think it could be a lot busier if the local residents really came in and supported it. A lot of people talk about Romsey, and Romsey's in Test Valley, and smaller town, but tends to be a little bit busier. If people come in and support the town will develop and the town will grow. It's got every potential. We just need the support of the locals.
You heard it here first, second, third, and fourth. Thank you. We'll be back.
Have other people said that?
Yeah.
Similar. Yeah.
Basically, yeah. We'll be back. Right, Hollywood Nails we talked about earlier on, not closed down, but as it says on the sign, moved just across the road, next door to Domino's Pizza. But okay, so there is an empty property again on the market with Philip and his team at Stratford's Commercial. Another vaping shop here, Vaporize. And we're going to go through a lot of national brands here, so this is where I'll start to get really out of breath as we hurry along the high street. Bank City this is now, so past Halifax, past Barclays Banks, and blimey, look, what are those betting offices that everybody says Andover is full of which I think we've seen, this is the third, isn't it? Yeah. Own a small barber shop and Arc Hair Design here. Hayes Travel, massive national company, so big they bought Thomas Cook. Now, I'm not going to go through Shaw's Walk, but in there's a recruitment specialist, personnel selection, the brilliant Tamachulo that we mentioned earlier on, the Attic, and Penny's fabric, haberdassery and wool. Now Penny Sinclair, it was her dad who owned the George at Thruxton, who was well known for fighting against Test Valley Borough Council by carrying an A board on his back and walking up and down the A303. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Penny's absolutely. In fact, I spoke to Penny earlier this week. Poundland. Now, again, one of those online comments that we hear so much of is, Andover's full of pound shops. Well, that's one that I've spotted, and that's it. Pep & Co opened upstairs to make use of the upstairs floor space that they have. Superdrug, a coffee shop. Now again, everybody says Andover's full of coffee shops, and I tell you what, the reason for that is because not only do I have a coffee in my hand right now, there are people sat outside and it's busy inside. Coffee shops are busy. The high streets are moving towards leisure rather than retail. So Solitaire Jewellers must have closed down 4 years ago, something like that?
It's about 4 or 5 years ago. I believe they pulled out in 2015.
Okay, so another shop, again, the premises to let with a local estate agent, Well, we're not going to go down Globe Yard, but we know who's down there. That's Globe Galleries and the Globe Pub, taken over last year by Jackie and Andy, still doing quite well. Canto Gelato opened up as 25 in the summer last year, now part of a franchise, but doing really quite well. If you want a good chat, go in and see these guys. They really know their stuff, and the kids will absolutely love it in there. Above that, Active Staff, the recruitment agent, used to be down Winchester Street. We have Boots, we have Millets, who've threatened to close in the past, I think, but the Andover store remains open. W.H. Smith have this kind of unique partnership with the post office. So the post office not moved out of town, just moved location. So rather than waiting 45 minutes in a queue down Bridge Street, you now wait an hour and 45 minutes inside W.H. Smith. A bank, the Newbury Building Society, now going to walk around the outside of the Chantry Centre and head our way back to Love Andover HQ. Oh, isn't it? Actually, we must not forget that here, we can't quite see it from this angle, but there is Zintino, the Italian restaurant, and above that, the Mayor's Parlour, and the old and current kind of civic offices. Without going into the Chantry Centre, as we promised we wouldn't, we have a couple of mobile phone shops, a coffee shop, again making the point that it's busy inside and there are people sat outside, and it's relatively early on a Sunday morning. So coffee number one, Cutting Edge, run by Nina and her team, local business there. The Entertainment Exchange, again a pawn shop type thing. A charity shop, although in fairness, they're really lovely in there. If you want people working in your shop, you want to talk to the guys from Scope, because they are so customer friendly, they really are. And this will be it, won't it? We're now making our full trip round as we walk past EE, now part of British Telecom, BT, rather, a national brand, and we'll head back until we get ourselves back to that sign outside Love Andover HQ, which says, Shop, Eat, Love Andover. So now our job is to count up how many stalls we've seen at high street level that are open and how many of those are closed.